Hey, what's going on, guys? Shane Whitecloud. Listen, I've been working a lot, turning what was just a fun hobby for me and my kids into what is now a full-scale production. Um, Before I get into how massive this has become, let me just tell you that because of this, I had to remodel the entire garage. From regular concrete flooring, I went ahead and painted and threw the flakes down and put enamel on top, and it turned out beautiful, as you can tell. The Harley rolls around on it great now, the Harley Dolly. But 3D printing. So I told my son right before Christmas that if he brought his grades up in math, that we would go ahead and get a 3D printer. His grades at the time were a C, and he brought them up to a B, and so I fulfilled my end of the bargain and bought our first 3D printer. Now, with that 3D printer, I started printing things like this. So we did a Batman helmet for him, and we did an Iron Man helmet for the 3-year-old, and just having fun. And it was a lot of fun to do that with. Now, COVID hit. And I work at the VA hospital, and our PPE is massively short, especially whenever it comes to things like masks and face shields. Now, I'm working on something for the masks, but I had an idea for the face shields, and this is what I came up with. So I started printing these. These are the face shield frames. And as you can see, instead of the standard 8 notches that a typical medical face shield has, this has 3, because each of those notches is exactly the same distance apart to be able to be cut with a standard 3-hole punch. Now, with standard A4 plastic, which you can buy in reams of 100 for less than $15 right here, it's clear PVC binder covers. You can punch those with 3 holes, and then those are your face shields, just like this. So now we've got the shortage on face shields figured out. Not only that, but because the plastic is so cheap, if we need to throw it away, then you can just toss it and not even worry about cost or anything, because cost of materials for just one face shield with the frame is less than $1 now, $1 a piece, which is massive. So I turned my one 3D printer that I was using for all the helmets and stuff into printing all of these face shield frames. And as you can see, there are 8 on this plate. This is a Creality CR10 S5, which is one of the biggest filament printers that they make. Now, I'm a huge fan of Creality, and if anybody from Creality is watching this, I am more than happy to test any other products that you make. Send them my way, and I'll do a review on it for you happily, because I love the products that you make. Absolutely, hands down, love the products. So, because of that, I decided to buy a few more. So as you can see behind me, these are the CR10 V2s. Now, they have smaller build plates. They also have quiet motherboards, meaning you can all 4 of these machines combined make less noise than my S5, and which is awesome. Now, the build plate is smaller on this. I can only fit 2 of these face shield frames on it, but that being said, it also prints faster, because once every couple of hours I'm printing a new face shield. So I've upped the production from just 24 a day to now almost 100 a day. So that's one thing that was huge. Now, that being said, when I first got into 3D printing, I started looking at all the different options that were available. For example, I research everything before I buy it. The reason I bought the Creality CR10 S5 was because it was one of the machines that my buddy Nico recommended. Nico, an Air Force veteran who also has his own channel. He also has a business called Nico Industries, which is known for making these items right here, which I actually got from his site and made those. And so he makes cosplay items, wearable items with 3D printers. So huge shout out to Nico, because I love you to death, brother. Since then, we've become very good friends. And he's the one that teaches me here and here. He's my Yoda for 3D printing, essentially. But Nico started doing these face shield frames as well. So huge shout out to him. The original design that I was doing came from Nico. And then this design I started doing because I've actually figured out how to stack them 3 high. And it's a little more comfortable because it flexes a little more to the head. It's not as stiff on the head. And so with that one build plate right here that's got 8 on it, when it's done, it'll be 24 in one run. Same thing with these guys. It looks like 1, but whenever it's done, it'll be 3 high, so there's 3 per plate. Whenever I start, this is the first test print on these, by the way. Whenever I'm done, these will be printing 6 apiece every few hours. Now these machines, these Creality V2s, I bought from another good friend of mine, Chris, who owns a company in Houston, Texas called Tiny Machines 3D. In fact, there's their sticker right there. Now, again, another shout out to Nico, because he's the one that recommended Tiny Machines. He's been pushing me towards Tiny Machines since December of last year. And he finally had his opportunity whenever I bought these other machines for me to follow through and contact Chris. He introduced us, and then from there, match made in heaven. Since then, Chris has shipped me all this filament. Look at that. All this filament. Bottom shelf, middle shelf. I mean, I am full of filament. So I'm good to go for printing for a long time right now. A lot of face shields, and whenever I can finally start doing it, hopefully a lot of masks as well for the hospital. Not only am I printing for the VA hospital, I'm also now printing for the Nevada State Veterans Home, both in the south, which is in Las Vegas, and here in the north in Reno. And I'm printing for all of their staff as well. So huge shout out to the Nevada State, Nevada Department of Veteran Services, which is the state department for veterans, because they're the ones who gave my nonprofit the grant to be able to buy the rest of these machines. Now, before all of this happened, I'd been researching, as I'm going to digress and go backwards now. I've been researching resin printers, because resin printers give you immaculate detail. Now, the detail on these filament printers is bar none amazing, but resin printers are even better. It's a totally different process of printing. If you want more detail, definitely look those up. I highly recommend checking out Nico's channel, Nico Industries, also checking out Uncle Jesse's channel, 3D Print Nerd, Joel's channel, and then there's a few others, Dungeon Printer, and I think there's a Matt's Modeling channel out there as well. Definitely check those guys out, because they've already been using this stuff and they can kind of give you some pointers. I know I've been getting a lot of pointers from watching their channels. I still watch them every day to see what's new, what's big, what's happening, what should I do if one of my printers breaks down, etc. Now, because of that, back in February, right before all of this stuff started happening, I went ahead and pulled the trigger and bought the biggest filament printer I could find. There's 2 filament printers that are huge that were both being recommended by both Joel from 3D Print Nerd and Uncle Jesse. And so I went ahead and pulled the trigger and got one of them. Now, the other one is called the Peopoly Phenom. Now, Nico got the Peopoly Phenom, which should be coming any day now. And then we're going to be comparing notes on the one that I got, because I got the Phrozen Transform. Now, I ordered this thing back in February, and then all of a sudden this COVID stuff hit, and then I was told that my Phrozen Transform would not be here until July. You know, you take it as you can. Now, the Phrozen Transform is just a play toy, because I'm using it to print things for my kids. It's a resin printer. It's not going to do phenomenal at mass producing these face shields, because it's a different way of printing. However, statues, helmets, things like that, I can still print those for the kids. Now, I had a surprise this morning at 10:30 when the Frozen was dropped off. And that's what this video is really going to get into. I kind of put all this together into one video so that you guys can kind of see why I started doing this, where I'm currently at now, and I wanted you to see the unboxing of this Phrozen Transform. Now, there's a few people out there who have done videos of unboxing, and particularly of this device, but I haven't done it yet. And my son, my 10-year-old, who is somewhere hiding around behind me, there he is. That's Verse.
Hello.
So Verse said, Dad, we should do an unboxing of this machine. And I said, that's a great idea. So my son's going to hold the camera, and I'm going to start unboxing this machine. And I got to tell you, if you're a 3D print nerd like I am, no offense, Joel, I didn't mean to take your tagline there, but I'm a huge geek whenever it comes to 3D printing. Thanks to you and Uncle Jesse and Nico. Then you know exactly what I'm about to show you. If you've never done 3D printing, or you're just now stepping your toes into it, or if you're even considering it, then this is something you're going to want to see, because you need to see what there is. For example, these Creality V2s, they have about a foot by foot measurement, about 12 inches by 12 inches, just give or take. It's actually 300 millimeters by 300 millimeters, which is just shy of a foot on each side. Okay. Now the S5, however, is 500 millimeters by 500 millimeters, which is roughly about 20 inches, so almost 2 feet from side to side. Okay. So that's the measurements on those two. Now, tomorrow I'll be doing another unboxing video for Creality's newest film or resin printer, the LD002R, which will be arriving tomorrow. Thanks to Tiny Machines and my buddy Chris. He shipped it out, and the shipping says it'll be here tomorrow. So I can actually show you the size difference between what I'm about to unbox and what a standard 3D printer is. Now, my total collection. I started with the Creality 10 S5, CR10 S5, there you go. I started with that one because I figured if it can do what the smaller printers do and still go bigger, then I'm going to start with that machine. I've gotten pretty good with it. I've gotten pretty good with Simplify 3D, and been using Maya and let's see, Mesh Mixer, Blender, and dabbling in Fusion. And now I went ahead and bought these V2s. Well, I figured if I'm going to do resin printing, let's just go with the biggest and then work our way down. So I bought the Phrozen, and then I bought the new Elegoo Mars Pro limited edition, which is the green one. I don't have a shipping date on that yet, so I don't know when that's coming. But whenever it gets here, what I'll have, and I have a CRX Pro coming from Tiny Machines as well, that Chris is fine-tuning as we speak. He told me this morning he hasn't shipped it yet because he's doing some special things that Tiny Machines does before he ships it to me. Let me segue to that really quick. Tiny Machines. I highly recommend you getting it from them for two reasons. One, they're located right here in the U.S. They're in Houston, Texas. And two, they don't just send you the machine. They take the machine out of the box, they make sure everything works properly, then they add some things to it. Some nice little features like the Z-bar stabilizers that they put on these machines. Here at the top, you see the belt, and I'm hoping you can see the belt. I'm not sure what I'm looking at. No, I've got the thing backwards here. There you go. So that's the Z-bar stabilizer that goes on the top. They put those on, they fine-tune it, they put their own software inside these boxes, so that they're running smooth and crisp and really nice. And they just make sure everything's good to go. And if I ever have any issues, even with the printer that I didn't buy from them from the beginning, I can call Chris. He can remote into my machine and he can fix it for me. I had my machine break down one night and I was in the panic because I was making these face shield frames. And he says, let me take a look. Now that is class act. I love it. I mean, Chris, again, hands down, supreme service. TinyMachines3D.com. Go check them out. Buy your machine from them. You will not regret it. It comes with a lifetime warranty of service from these guys from a small LLC in Houston, Texas. So definitely look at them. Okay, now back to this. The Phrozen did not come from Tiny Machines. I ordered that before I knew who Chris was. So I apologize, Chris. However, the LD002R Creality resin printer did come from them, and it's going to be here tomorrow, so we can compare notes on that. Elegoo Mars, I don't know when it's going to be here. So what do I have again machine-wise? I have 4 Creality CR10 V2s. I have 1 Creality CR10 S5. I have 1 Creality CRX Pro coming. Okay, so filament printers, I have 6. And then resin printers, I have the Creality LD002R. I have the Elegoo Mars Pro Limited Edition. And I have this Phrozen. So altogether, 9 machines. And I've got plenty of room to grow from there. So again, if you're from any of these other organizations that make 3D printers and you would like for me to generously, send it to me and let me play with it, by all means do that. I am more than happy to do that. Look, I went from rockstar to working in a VA hospital and just printing for hobby to now making medical devices for my team at the VA hospital and the team at the State Veterans Home. So I'm more than happy to do this stuff, and I have a lot of fun doing it. Now back to the main reason that we're doing this, the unboxing. So again, thanks to my 10-year-old for suggesting this. I'm going to turn the camera around and give it to him, and he's going to be directing from here. All right, so as you can see from the outside here, this is the box that it came in. This is the Phrozen Transform, and it came with a second box right there. We'll be opening that up after we open the big one. Okay, let me hand the phone to my son. And we'll move these over, get these out of the way here so I can have some room. And his water. Back up. There we go. And I need to get a couple of tools first. So I'm going to get a box cutter just in case. And then we'll start opening this up. Now these bindings are all around the box, and the box appears to be in great condition. I was a little worried about that because this box shipped from China 2 days ago, and it arrived at my house at 10:30 this morning. I couldn't believe it. It's insane shipping time. It was in Oakland yesterday, and then came to Reno this morning. Super excited.
Here we go.
Now, this should just lift off.
Oh. Oh, no, we're getting a sneak peek.
All right. We'll set the box there. And let's go into my box cutter here. Packaging looks immaculate. Again, I was super worried. Some quick start guides. Telling me what I have in the box. I'll set those aside because that quick start guide is going to come in handy. Now the plastic is super thick. It's actually really well packaged. As you can tell by the styrofoam, there were no dents in it, there were no breaks in it. Even the box had no damage in it whatsoever, so I'm super excited about that. Now. Even the cellophane is super thick. I dig it. Oh, they didn't play around. Okay. Now, let me pull the machine up. Now, this machine's a little heavy. I would say roughly probably about 50 pounds, which is what I've seen other people quote in their channels. So I would agree on that. Now, this is the Phrozen Transform. Now, the great thing about this is that this machine can print one of these helmets in one setting with just resin, and you won't see a lot of these layer lines or anything if it's done right. So, here's the machine. These are the doors. They open up, as you can see from the tinting here. This is to prevent UV light from coming in because UV is what hardens this. And here's the tray that you use to put your resin in. Now what you just heard like a drum, that's the clear plastic on the bottom, and eventually I'll have to change that out every now and then. But this is the resin tray. And then down here in the bottom, this is the UV light emitter, and it's just huge, which is why you can do some giant prints with this thing. So, now that being said, obviously this takes a lot of filament. You don't want to have too many mistakes. I think Uncle Jesse said it best whenever he said, you know, that you want to make sure your machine is dialed in before you go for a large print, because if it messes up, you just wasted a whole lot of resin, and resin is pretty expensive. So you want to make sure that you get that right. So this is your Z-bar here. This will lift up whenever the build tray, whenever I put the build platform, which I'm sure is in that box on here, this will lift up, and then it comes down into the resin, which will be in here. The UV light flashes and it hardens the resin that's on there, and then it comes up, it dips back down, the UV light flashes again, and it just keeps doing that layer by layer. And because of that process, it can make something extremely detailed, to where you can see veins in Hulk's arm and wrinkles and in an old man's face or something. It's just pretty amazing. So I'm gonna close this for now, because I'm pretty sure that this box over here is gonna have all the remaining things like the door handles and everything else that I need. So go ahead and open this up. So my son's gonna come around on the outside here so that you guys can see me opening this box as well, because I don't know exactly what's in here. I know what people are getting when they ordered this off the Kickstarter. For example, I believe, what's his name, Matt's modeling guy, he got one off the Kickstarter campaign, and it came with 14 bottles of resin. Man, I wish I would have taken advantage of that whenever they had it going. I didn't even know about that, because I know this thing's gonna need a lot of resin. I ordered a bunch of resin, so I'm gonna try some stuff through some other companies that are sending me resin as well. But this is what's inside here. So, this is the build plate. This thing is massive. Now, typically, whenever the Creality LD002R, oh, that's a mouthful, isn't it? Whenever that comes tomorrow, I can show you the difference between the build plates, and you can get your idea from there. But with a build plate this size, you can either mass produce a bunch of small things, because the detail on the small printings are just as immaculate as a large printing. So you can mass produce a bunch of small ones on one build plate, or you can build something really big with this one. So here's the build plate right here. Now typically, just to give you an idea, a standard build plate on a smaller resin printer is about that big. So this is about 3 of those build plates big. So that's pretty much the difference, and I can, again, tomorrow, whenever the Creality resin printer gets here, I can show you by putting that build plate up against this one so that you can see. Because right now I don't have any resin to use on this because I ordered it, it hasn't gotten here yet. But whenever it does, I'll be able to start printing with it. Now you'll also notice that all the other build plates are solid. This has got holes in it. That's so that it can grip better inside the resin printer. But that being said, I think it was Uncle Jesse that mentioned you're going to want to put a raft or something on the bottom of your prints before you start printing. You don't want to print something that you want to be flat on the table like a bust or something. You don't want to print it directly from the bed because it'll have little knobbies on it that you're going to have to sand down, and that's just a pain in the butt. So print the raft first and then print on top of it. So this actually goes inside the machine, which I'll do shortly. And let's see what else we got here. Packaging. So this little box here would be the door handles and everything else. So it says Phrozen on it. And here we go. Now, this is going to be, looks like a vent cover. It's got magnets on it. So not sure. I'll find out by looking at the manual where that goes. We got an Ethernet cable. We've got a little funnel to, whenever you're done with a print, you're supposed to pour the resin back in the bottle using this, and that way you can clean out your resin tray. We got 1 free pair of gloves. Thankfully, I got a few boxes off of Amazon. The power cable. We've got a metal scraper. We've got a plastic scraper, and here's the door handles, and it looks like the Wi-Fi, USB Wi-Fi. So this is what allows me to wirelessly upload designs to this if I wanted to. I think I might stick with the SD reader as well, which you can see here on the back. So on the back, let's turn it a little bit so I can see. You've got 2 USB ports. One of them is for this Wi-Fi. The other one is if you put a USB thumbstick in it. You've got your SD card, which it standard has one in there. In fact, it's covered in plastic and sealed. We might be taking that off because one thing that I've noticed is from a couple of different people's videos, if they leave that in when they're first booting the machine up, for some reason it takes forever. Sometimes it never stops trying to boot up. So take the SD card out first, then boot it up. You got your Ethernet port, your power cable here, power switch. One thing I don't like is that the USB ports and the SD card reader are all on the back of this machine, which is also where your power cord is. So in my position, that doesn't bother me, but if you were actually doing something like this in your house and you wanted to put this near a wall, that would be inconvenient. You have to move it out every time you want to change something, like add a new design to your thumbstick or SD card. I have my garage. I turn my garage into a workshop, and so I can just walk around behind it and take care of that. It's fine. So that's everything that's in that little box. Again, I wish I would have taken advantage of the Kickstarter campaign because there's a lot more I could have gotten. But I'm super, super excited that this came in, and I can start messing with this once I get some resin in. Chris from Tiny Machines is sending me some resin, plus I ordered some off of Amazon. Some stuff that Nico highly suggested, some Soraya Tech resin, which will be coming shortly as well. So that's it. This is the unboxing. Now what I'm going to be doing, once I get some resin in, I'll start doing a test print, and I'll do another video for that one. Tomorrow I'll upload another video comparing this printer to the size of a regular resin printer, that Creality LD002R. That'll be here tomorrow, and so I'll do another unboxing video of that one, and then show you the difference between the build plates and the size as well, so that way you can kind of have an idea. Plus, go to some of those guys' channel that I was telling you about earlier. Uncle Jesse's He tested this machine. I believe his name is Matt. Matt's what was it? It was something like Matt's Modeling or something along those lines. He got one of these, and he's done a couple of prints on it. The Dungeon printer, I'm definitely going to be using his a lot because he seems to be the one that's printing or posting up all of the videos on what's gone wrong with this machine and what he's done to fix it over time. So I'm sure I'm going to make mistakes. Uncle Jesse says he doesn't understand some of the mistakes he's made. He thinks they're all user error. So I'm not exactly intelligent on this stuff, so I'm sure I'm going to have a lot of user errors. So I'll be using those guys' videos a lot as well. So Uncle Jesse, Joel from 3D Print Nerd, also Nico Industries. Make sure you check him out and his videos, and Dungeon Printer and Matt's Modeling. Check those guys out. They all have this machine, so you can get a better idea of what it can do. And don't forget, tomorrow I'll be uploading another one in comparison. I'm brand new at all this stuff, guys. Being locked down as long as we have been. When I'm not at the hospital, I'm at home doing this. And so bear with me. I'm learning to stream and I'm learning to do all this stuff. So this is 100% legit real. No editing. It's just showing you what I've got and going from there. If you have suggestions, feel free to leave a comment. Toss me a few likes. Help me out. Subscribe, because once I get above 1,000, then I can go ahead and start streaming live instead of recording these videos ahead of time. Apparently that's a new thing that YouTube is doing. You have to have at least 1,000 subscribers before you can stream live. So help me out with that, would you? I'm Shane Whitecloud, and I am in Reno, Nevada. I went from singing for a rock band for almost 27 years and being an FM rock radio DJ for 23 years to working as a public affairs officer at the VA hospital and 3D printing them for fun. And I get to do all this stuff to help people out. It doesn't get any better than that. All right, guys. Thank you again for watching, and let me know what you think. It's an honest review. Take care.